Alright, enough of the bad episodes. Let's move on to
the story arcs.
The show had 3 major story arcs, but like I said, they didn't coincide with the 3 seasons, so I will discuss them all here. Unfortunately, while the setup to each story arc was great, the payoff was never up to par. I'll elaborate, starting with the fate of Equinox. As I stated, this starts off great, with the introduction of Equinox, played by Oded Fehr, a pseudo-antagonist who is obsessed with bringing balance to the world, meaning there has to be an equal amount of good and evil. If one becomes more powerful than the other, Equinox intervenes to even the odds. This was fascinating, as technically speaking, Equinox is not a villain. He merely seeks equality. So what we have here is a duel between balance and justice. But then they pretty much cop out at the end, and the whole thing deteriorates into a goofy magical duel in space, which doesn't solve the argument at hand in a literal or even metaphorical manner. Again, it's not bad, the payoff is just not good enough. Next we have the Siege of Starro. The Silver Age is jump-started in the DC Universe by 3 major events. Showcase number 4, which introduces Barry Allen as the Flash, Showcase number 22, which introduces Hal Jordan as Green Lantern, and Brave and the Bold number 28, the introduction of the Justice League of America. This show plays tribute to the first 2 events magnificently, with Requiem for a Scarlet Speedster, which showcases the Flash, and Scorn of Star Sapphire, which showcases Green Lantern. But they completely dropped the ball with the League, in what I consider to be the greatest missed opportunity in DCU Animated's long illustrious history. All throughout Season 2, they kept teasing that Starro was slowly taking over the DC Universe. For those of you who don't know, Starro was the first villain in the League's first comic book appearance, which was in the Brave and the Bold comic. With this being the Brave and the Bold show, I naturally and gullibly assumed that they were making preparations to pay tribute to the most meaningful event in the entire run of the comic. But that's not what we got here. Instead, Batman leads a team of random heroes to take on Starro, who in the end proved to be worthless against the Star Conqueror. Call it Aquaman.
That time, the C-list heroes barely helped save the day.
Now, is this episode bad? No. It has a very surprising ending and supreme performance by Kevin Michael Richardson as Buana Beast. I just found the episode to be very disappointing, especially if you know the meaningfulness behind Starro's presence. I respect that the creators of Brave and the Bold wanted to focus on the second string characters, and I appreciate that DC Animated already gave us 5 great seasons of Justice League, but I just don't think it would have killed them to put the League together for just one 2-parter. The only time that we see the Justice League together in the entire show is during a very brief moment during the cold opening of Sidekicks Assemble. Once again, the arc was not bad, just disappointing when you stop to think of what could have been. And last but not least, we have Darkseid Descending. For those of you who don't know, Darkseid is the biggest, baddest villain in the DC Universe. When he shows up, you know some badass shit is about to go down. So when they started teasing that Darkseid was on his way, it beckoned a certain degree of big expectations. But the final result was nothing more than a silly vehicle episode for the Justice League International. Once again, for those of you who don't know, the Justice League International is one of the latter iterations of the League, where most of the big guns had left the group and the team was mostly comprised of second stringer characters. Incidentally, the JLI is actually from the Bronze Age, not the Silver Age, but I digress. When I was a kid, I used to refer to these guys as the Loser League. As an adult, I have gone back and reread a lot of their stories, and I have to admit, they're pretty damn entertaining and hilarious. This episode, however, depicts the team in the same manner as I viewed them as a child, as a bunch of sad, incompetent jackasses.
Justice League International? You said it was the other Justice League. The good one.
I get that these characters are supposed to be flawed, but they're still superheroes. They should show some degree of professionalism.
Impossible. Our signal is triple encoded, cross-routed over a dozen satellite feeds. Untraceable. Unless...
Oh come on, you gotta be kidding me. Throughout this whole episode, I kept wondering 2 things. Number 1, why aren't these guys dead yet? And number 2, Where the hell was the real Justice League? While I was missing the Justice League of America and Siege of Starro, at least the heroes in that episode did their best. These guys flat out suck, and to make matters worse, they don't even defeat Darkseid. Darkseid is defeated by a contingency plan that Batman set into motion before the episode even started. So call it again, Aquaman.
The time the C-list heroes barely helped save the day.
Alright, enough negativity.
The best episodes.
The area where this show truly shines is with the standalone episodes. There are a lot of great standalone episodes in this show, and I can't possibly talk about them all. So the following are the 10 that I consider to be the very best. Please keep in mind that this is just my opinion, so if you feel like I missed any, please feel free to list them in the comment section below. Let's start with Game Over for Owlman. This is actually the second half of a two-parter. The first half is your standard sci-fi story of Batman going to a mirror universe where the good guys are bad guys and the bad guys are good guys. The second half is where things truly get interesting, as Batman's evil doppelganger, Owlman, steals Batman's identity and frames Batman for countless crimes. With both the Gotham police and his friends hunting for him, Batman has no choice but to team up with the one person ruthless enough to challenge Owlman, the Joker. Nay, I say more.
They don't build them like this anymore. So what's this one do?
Don't touch that.
What's this one do?
Don't touch that.
What's this one do?
Don't touch that.
Oh, shiny! What does this one do?
You really don't want to touch that.
The Color of Revenge. This is the episode that I always thought was missing from Batman the Animated Series, as towards the end of the series, Robin gets fed up with Batman, quits, and becomes Nightwing. I was always curious to see what happened in between, when Robin was struggling to become a solo hero. Here we get a detailed account of said struggle, as Robin, played by Crawford Wilson, is about to take on his arch nemesis, Crazy Quilt, only to have Batman continuously interfere trying to help, but inadvertently cramping Robin's style.
Oh man, he trashed my bike.
Not to worry, Robin.
Please, not the sidecar.
The whole thing builds up to the Boy Wonder claiming his independence and proving to the Dark Knight that while he might love him like a father, he has outgrown him. And there is nothing better than a great episode that has a great follow-up. Sidekicks Assemble. Robin's final step to claiming his independence comes as the Boy Wonder demands that Aqualad, Speedy, and him be sent on a very dangerous mission on their own. What results is pretty much what I pictured in my head when I heard that DC Animated was making a Teen Titans show. The chemistry between these three is excellent, and very much reminds me of the character dynamic in the Young Justice comic.
This place is a total waste of... This is... awesome!
The one thing that I think would have made this episode even more interesting would have been if they would have added Wonder Girl to the group, as I think it would have been hilarious to see the boys tripping over each other in order to impress her. And of course, this appropriately ends with Robin becoming Nightwing. Groovy 1980s disco collar Nightwing, but Nightwing nonetheless. Menace of the Madniks. As I stated before, the Blue Beetle in this show is Jaime Reyes, as his predecessor Ted Kord, played by Will Wheaton, died in battle. This episode is not only a great tribute to Ted, but to one of the greatest superhero duos of all time, Booster and Beetle. As the egotistical hero of the 25th century, Booster Gold finds himself missing his best friend, so he recklessly decides to travel back in time to visit Ted and help catch the villains that always got away, the Madniks. Of course, Booster's actions in the past end up severely damaging the present, so Batman must help them set things straight. Incidentally, in this series, Billy West reprises his role as Booster's robot sidekick, Skeets, from Justice League Unlimited. This is an excellent depiction of these great characters and their unique and hilarious relationship. I wish they would have made more episodes of The Brave and the Bold featuring the blue and the gold.
Look, I know I screwed up coming back here to see Ted. I just had a hard time letting go. He was my best friend.
He was my friend too. We should do this together.
That's the only way you can do it.
Requiem for a Scarlet Speedster. Now, I have mentioned this episode before in past videos, and quite frankly, that is because it's so damn awesome, it's worth mentioning more than once. As I stated before, this show also had an episode that plays tribute to Green Lantern, played by none other than Lauren Lester. The episode is not bad, it's just very somber and bittersweet, and it doesn't quite tribute Green Lantern as well as this episode tributes The Flash, who's played by Alan Tudyk. Here we find a central city where the Flash passed away, and the Flash's predecessor Jay Garrick and his protege Wally West are left to fill in for the Flash. However, Batman discovers that Flash didn't die, and that he was actually teleported to another dimension. So our heroes jump on the cosmic treadmill and go to save him, only to discover that Flash is trapped in a world ruled by his arch nemesis, the Reverse Flash, Professor Zoom, played by the live-action Flash himself, John Wesley Shipp. And of course, the whole thing ends with an awesome high-speed duel between the Flash and Zoom. Who's the leaf on the wind now, motherfucker?
Sorry I've been such a jerk, Jay. It's Zoom who's to blame. And when our moment comes, we'll take him down.
Because when you're a Flash, a moment's all you need.
Battle of the Superheroes. This, of course, is the Superman tribute episode. I wish there would have been an episode like this about Wonder Woman. Sadly, there wasn't. The closest she got was the cold opening of Scorn of Star Sapphire, which was more of a tribute to the Wonder Woman show from the 70s.
What does she see in that man?
As opposed to the Wonder Woman comics of the Silver Age. I would have just loved to have seen a full episode with Wonder Woman and Etta Candy in Keystone City fighting Cheetah. That would have been awesome. Anyway, as I stated before, this is a beautiful letter to all things Superman in the Silver Age. From the Turtle Boy, to Mr. Mitzias Pitlick, to Crypto, to Brainiac. The episode sees Lex Luthor, played by Kevin Michael Richardson, introduce Superman, played by Roger Rose, to Red Kryptonite, which turns Superman evil. So it's up to Batman to snap Superman out of it, before the Man of Steel does the unthinkable.
You know we can't be judge, jury, and executioner.
Good old-fashioned sci-fi awesomeness from the world's finest, which comes to a thrilling conclusion with a badass brawl, Dark Knight Returns style, between our two larger-than-life heroes.
But first, a word from our sponsors.
Triumvirate of Terror. Like I said before, when I first started watching the show, I was just a casual viewer. It was this episode that sealed the deal and made me go from a casual viewer to a devoted fan. Cause while Wonder Woman, played by Vicki Lewis, might not have gotten her own episode, we did get an episode focusing on the Trinity. And yes, this is the episode with the cold opening which sees the heroes playing a game of baseball against the villains. Yeah, this actually happened in the comics. Like I said, the show isn't perfect. Anyway, the episode itself is an awesome tribute to the greatest trio of superheroes in all of comics, as it captures their very specific group dynamic perfectly. The cast in this episode is amazing. Not only do we have Kevin Michael Richardson and Jeff Bennett return as Lex Luthor and the Joker, but we also have Morena Baccarin as Cheetah and legendary Hollywood starlet Tippi Hedren as Hippolyta, Queen of the Amazons. So the episode sees the Trinity's greatest enemies formulate a plan to defeat our heroes by switching enemies and attacking the heroes in their homes. My favorite scene in this episode is when Lex Luthor attacks the Batcave and Alfred bravely puts on a bat suit and distracts Luthor long enough for Bruce to suit up. Holy shit, give that guy a raise! While the cold opening might make you cringe until your spine hurts, believe me when I say the main story is worth getting to, as it serves as an action-packed reminder of why these are the world's greatest superheroes.
You coming or what? Wouldn't miss it.
The Knights of Tomorrow. Believe it or not, this show doesn't have that many episodes that solely focus on Batman. But when they did, they always had great reasons. Like in this episode, Now, I warn you, a lot of people feel that this episode's ending is a big fat cop-out. While I do not wish to dispute this viewpoint, I will say that the cop-out doesn't bother me one bit, as this is a wonderfully excellent retelling of Batman's origin and his history, as well as a great exploration of his legacy and how the mantle of Batman will live on. Incidentally, the future Robin in this episode is voiced by Sebastian Bader, Diedrich Bader's son.
Holy Hymns of Justice, Dad. I mean Batman. Let's go get him.
This is one episode that always draws at least one tear from this old fanboy's eye.
I don't know if I can live up to the Batman legacy, Dick. I don't know if I want to. If I mess up, people get hurt.
Your dad taught you everything you need to know to protect yourself and others. You just have to believe in yourself enough to use that knowledge. Remember, Damien, there's more to the Batman legacy than being Batman. I should know.
Revenge of the Reach. As most of you already know, I am a big fan of Jaime Reyes as the Blue Beetle, and this, my friends, is the episode that captures exactly why he is one of my favorites. As Jaime finds out that the scarab that gave him his powers is actually part of a massive alien invasion ploy by the Reach, in which they bestowed one individual on every inhabited planet a similar scarab. But in reality, those who bear the scarab are actually sleeper agents for the Reach. This is where Will Friedle truly shines as Jaime Reyes, as he deals with Jaime's biggest personal dilemma. Is he the hero, or does the scarab make him the hero?
Sorry, Jaime. We must submit to the will of the Reach.
No! We have to make our own choices. Use our own will. We're stronger than the Reach, but only together. Me and you, the best team ever.
We are the Reach.
No, we are the Blue Beetle.
And now for the best episode in this series. The episode that should receive all the critical praise and attention that Mayhem of the Music Meister gets. An episode that I personally consider to be at least one of the top 5 absolute greatest episodes to ever be produced for any of the DC shows. Chill of the Night. Batman comes upon one of the greatest crossroads of his life, as he is about to come face to face with the man that murdered his parents. Joe Chill. The spirit of justice, the Phantom Stranger, and the spirit of vengeance, the Spectre, look on and argue over which road will the Dark Knight take, justice or vengeance. Appropriately enough, the Phantom Stranger and the Spectre are played by Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill. Our ghostly spectators offer Batman their counsel, and even show him visions of the events that led to the death of his parents. Visions that see Bruce's parents being played by Adam West and Julie Newmar. If you ever doubted Diedrich Bader as Batman, this is the episode that removes all doubt in him as an actor and as this iconic character.
You took them without mercy or regret and in cold blood, Jill.
How do you know this? How could you possibly?
I know because I watched it happen. I know because I am the son of the man you murdered. I am Bruce Wayne.
Will the Dark Knight give in to his emotions, or will he do the right thing? You'll have to see this episode to find out, as it is the one episode of this show that I feel 100% comfortable recommending to everyone.
I swear, by the spirits of my parents, to avenge their deaths, by spending the rest of my life warring on all criminals.
And now for the final episode in the series, Nightfall. This is by far one of the most brilliant final episodes that I have ever seen. Batmite gets bored with Batman the Brave and the Bold, as he feels the show has quite literally jumped the shark. So he begins using his infinite powers to alter the show and make it as horrible as possible. So it will be cancelled and replaced by a better, darker Batman show. What ensues is a hilarious and ballsy critique of the majority of the silly complaints that this show received from the viewers and critics.
Then came its greatest episode, Chill of the Night. It was dark and brooding, but it reminded us of how much we missed the serious Batman. We longed for more episodes like that. Instead, we got more like this!
And when he proceeds to quote-unquote make the show worse, he blatantly shows us what an actual bad Batman show looks like.
And just to seal the deal, I'll give Batman the one thing he would never have. I say my work here is done. See ya!
his fellow all-powerful being Ambush Bug, played by none other than the original shark jumper himself, Henry Winkler, makes a case on the show's behalf and does his best to talk Bat-Mite out of making all his unnecessary changes. I have to say that casting Henry Winkler as Ambush Bug was genius. And on top of that, he is awesome in this part. When I first saw this episode, I couldn't tell at all that it was a celebrity playing the part. I genuinely believed that it was a professional voiceover actor.
And soon it will be erased from existence. You've got to fight it.
Who in Hades are you? And what are you babbling on about?
You're Ted McGinley. Big fan. Oh, I'm a big fan. Let me press your pants.
In the end, in spite of everyone's efforts, the show is still cancelled. All the characters gather in the Batcave for one final curtain call. And in one of the most touching moments in any superhero cartoon, Batman actually says goodbye to us.
And until we meet again, boys and girls, know that wherever evil lurks, in all its myriad forms, I'll be there with the hammers of justice to fight for decency and defend the innocent. Good night.
Character design and animation.
The character design in this show is excellent. This time around, they shined away from Bruce Timm's signature square shapes and made the characters more curved. The general look is like a hybrid between Jack the King Kirby's groundbreaking art style with Alex Toth's signature clean lines, both of which define the way superheroes looked in comics and on television in the 60s. My favorite design is the Batmobile. This is my favorite version of the Batmobile ever. This is the Batmobile that I would have loved to have had when I was a kid. My only real critique of the designs is that some of Batman's gadgets seem like they were conceived by a 9-year-old. It's like the creators invited their kids to the studio and asked them what gadgets they wanted Batman to have. I want his cape to change into a jetpack, and I want his belt buckle to turn into a lightsaber, and I want his bat car to turn into a transformer. It's blatant overkill, but it's in tone with the show, so I can't complain. The animation is just as beautiful and fluid as their past shows, if not better. In keeping part of Batman cartoon tradition, the sky is a weird color. In Batman the Animated Series, the sky was red. In Batman Beyond, the sky was purple. And in this show, the sky is orange. Don't know why, just is. Maybe Beware of the Batman would have done better if the sky was green.
Final verdict.
I know that I already gave props to Andrea Romano earlier this month, but I have to do it again. Because it's not easy to go from comedy to drama and back to comedy again, as this show so often did. And somehow, someway, she handled these tonal shifts with maximum efficiency. So once again, hail to the queen, baby. Hail to the queen. Anyway, there are a few misguided individuals who like to say that this show was DC's version of the Superhero Squad show. If you are one of those individuals, I'm going to have to ask you to push that idea out of your head right the fuck now. I have nothing against Superhero Squad, but that show is just a parody of the Marvel Universe, an unrelenting spoof and nothing else. Batman the Brave and the Bold had layers. It was an action-adventure, and a comedy, and a romance, and a sci-fi, and a comic book show that confidently depicted every imaginable facet of DC's Silver Age, all of which center around some of the greatest but often most underrated characters in all of comics. So I extend my gratitude to James Tucker and Sam Register for producing a show based on the type of comics that I grew up with. Comics that I never thought in a million years I would see recreated on my television screen. I give the show an 8. It's not perfect, but it's definitely worth your time. Check out the episodes that I recommended. If you like what you see, by all means check out the rest. I hope you have all enjoyed DC-cember.
That's all, folks.
Gray and blue, gray and blue. The man from Gotham wore the gray and blue. The man from Gotham wore the gray and blue.
Merry Christmas to you too, Alfred. But crime doesn't take a holiday. And neither do I.